Hey, you guys, it's Sharonda. What's your name?
Big Bean. We real uncut.
Hey, you guys, this is Sharonda, and
I'm Dennis from Alabama.
yes, and we're expecting a little one.
We having a child.
Currently 39
We having a child. We ain't expect.
Hey, everyone. So, I'm currently 39 weeks pregnant, and I'm still 1 centimeter dilated. Kind of upset that I am, but today was my last appointment. I don't have to go back. He asked me if I wanted to get induced by next week. I told him no, we're just gonna thug this thing out. I'm not getting induced, no. Hey y'all, I am back. So currently doing some squats to get my body prepared. Okay, I had to change my shirt. I was getting hot. But I have another workout I'm about to do. Yep.
We're going to go ahead and get started with a warm-up. We got 6 moves, 2 rounds. My daughter is in the background, playing with her dolls. We're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the side to side. Bring those heels together, move those arms. I have my bracelet on and that my daughter.
Move, mama. He look like a fool. Stop. Go sit down. Go. Cause I can't do nothing with you. So I have walked a mile, guys. Yeah. Walked a mile. And I'm still going. I've stopped to 2 places. And hey guys, here I am today. It is what, the 13th? I think it is. Currently going on a walk. Nothing's changed. No contractions. Hey, so if you know where I live, you would definitely be surprised that I walked this far. Look where we are. And it's pretty much a mile from my house to Walmart in 22 minutes. Y'all, I am worn out. Update. So it's the 14th and I'm almost completing today's walk. 2 miles walk, about 40 minutes. And I got a lot of back pain. It's like really back. My back hurts. My lower back hurts really bad. Hey y'all, I'm going to start my workout. Yay.
Voices in my mind that say I'm not.
Hey you guys, so it is the 16th. Nothing's changed. I'm currently at the gym, about to walk on a treadmill. I did it yesterday as well for 30 minutes. So today I'll do it for an hour or however long I don't have to go to the bathroom. Hey you guys.
That's fake.
No.
That's what I don't like. That's why I say you just do your own.
Hey y'all, so we're starting the walk today. It is the 17th. Still nothing. But we're getting there. He's coming. And guess who decided to join me on this walk? Hubby. Say hi. What? All right, welcome back. So as you can see, the clips, the little videos, the pictures with me just trying to do everything natural. At that point I was like 38, 39 weeks pregnant. I didn't want to go into getting induced. I already had everything planned. I wanted everything naturally. I wanted to have a natural birth, you know, the vaginal birth. And, you know, throughout the pregnancy, he was, you know, within like the early third trimester, he was basically saying like, oh, he's going to come early January, being that his head was already down, the beginning of the third trimester. So everything was going great. He was already below, you know, I would always feel pressure. I would always have like the Braxton Hicks nonstop. I would always feel those, and I always had back pain, no matter what I was doing. If I was just sitting down, standing up, walking. I love to walk, y'all. That was like the best thing to do while I was pregnant. Walking, I always felt the lower back pain. It was awful. Like, it was like something was literally just sticking me. But, yeah, so as you can see on the video, I had my appointment that Monday, which was, and that was, the appointment was that January 11th, that the 39-week checkup. And he basically was saying like, you know, did you want to get induced? Next week, you're still 1 centimeter, you haven't dilated. And I still wasn't having any contractions. I was still having like the early labor symptoms, like the Braxton Hicks and the cramps and things like that, but I didn't have the contractions, or I wasn't dilating. So I was like, no, I don't want to get induced. I'm just gonna, you know, do natural, you know, we're just gonna thug it out, whatever. And he was like, well, hopefully I don't have to see you next Monday. And I was like, oh yeah, you won't see me. You're not going to see me, or whatever. So I left there, called Dennis. I was like, Dennis, I'm still 1 centimeter. I did all this walking. I did all this exercising, these squats, everything you could think of, like you could have seen. I tried it all and nothing worked. I still was 1 centimeter. I was trying everything spicy, like spicy food. You know, I was online Googling, researching like, okay, how to induce labor naturally. Like, I had all type of videos on YouTube. I was Googling all the videos, and I was just like, we gonna try this. We definitely, because I'm not going back next Monday. I'm not going back on the 18th. I'm not gonna set that appointment. So before I left the doctor, I did not set the appointment for next week. I was like, nope. He said I don't have to come. I didn't set the appointment at all. So at this point, as you can see on the last video, it basically showed that was Sunday at 8:47 p.m. on that video. And I didn't want to get induced. I was trying everything naturally. And yeah, so at this time, I actually spoke with, no, it was like earlier that day, Sunday afternoon. One of the mothers called me from our church, and she basically was like, you know, hey, how are you? You know, how's the baby? How's the, you know, pregnancy going? And I was like, oh, we're still not dilated. Haven't had any contractions, but I know he's coming. And I was, you know, letting her know I'm, you know, trying to do everything naturally and not get induced. And she just kept saying, you know, all is well, you know, you're going to have a great delivery, you know, all is well. She just kept saying all is well. I was like, okay, you know, I receive it. Amen. You know, like that. So, and that was earlier Sunday. So before that last video was like at 8:47. So I spoke with her like 6-ish, that evening. And going forward, you know, Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, hubby went and buy some crab legs, and, you know, he had some crab legs, And we actually went on a little walk earlier that day too, you know, a mile walk. And I was like, you know, babe, I was like, it's Sunday, you know, Monday I gotta, he'll probably call and say I gotta get induced, I'm not feeling any contractions, you know, let's go get some castor oil. That was my last resort. I was like, yeah, you know, everybody said castor oil, that induced the labor, let's go get some. So after our walk, we went and got some, and again, that was before the last video, 8:47. So I was like, you know, let's go get some. So we went to Walgreens after our walk that night. And when we got to Walgreens, we went in the pharmacy section and we saw the castor oil. Now it was like this big, like the bottle was so small, but like $8. And when I saw it, I was like, why so much? Why so little for just like a little tablespoon full to, you know, help you get induced? Because all it's going to do is run right through me or whatever. And I was like, instantly, I felt like I had a stomach ache. Like my stomach started hurting so bad. It was like very, very bad cramps. And I was like, babe, my stomach is hurting. I was like, I don't know why. I didn't really eat nothing. You know, we have food and stuff. But I was like, my stomach is hurting bad. So he was like, well, you don't want to get it because it's going to you're going to have diarrhea. And I was like, no, let's get it. And he was like, no, let's just come on, let's go. So I was like, man, I was so mad. I was like, because I knew this would have helped me, you know, get induced, you know, start the labor process. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we left the store. I was very mad. I didn't talk to them until we got in the house. And I was like, oh my gosh. And, you know, we ate our crab legs, fixed our sauce. I had a like really, really spicy sauce or whatever. And, you know, 9 o'clock-ish, 10, I went and took a shower. And I got out the shower and I was like, babe, I think I just had a contraction. And he was on the phone, so he just, you know, thought I was playing. And I was like, no, for real. I was like, I ain't never felt this way. And he was like, how did it feel? And I was like, I can't really explain it. Like, I couldn't explain it. I just didn't know for sure, like, what was going on with my body. You know, because before I felt like, you know, it was, you know, big cramps. And I was like, I don't know if this is really contractions, but it may be because I've never felt this way. So I was like, whatever. So I put on my clothes, I went into bed, and I felt it again. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, baby, I think these are the contractions. So he was like, okay, we're going to start timing it. We're going to start timing it to see. Now, mind you, like, we all knew to this. So I was like, it doesn't hurt. It was just like, okay, this is a different type of feeling, you know, for like a good bit of seconds. And I was like, okay, it's gone. So I was like, okay, let me lay down. Let me lay down, relax my nerves, you know, because I was all excited. I was like, yes, we're starting. Yes, we're in labor. I'm not about to go to the doctor tomorrow. We about to have this baby before this week is out, like I planned. I was like, yes, good to go. So again, the contraction came. It was like maybe like 15, 20 minutes later. Another one came. So he started at that moment, he started timing it. And it was like, you know, a minute or so or whatever. And then it'll go away. So he already called my mom. He called my dad on FaceTime. And they were all looking at me in the bed. It was like, oh, there you go. You ready? You ready? I was like, I don't know. So I was just trying to, you know, stay relaxed because I was so into like watching like videos during that time. Like, you know, within the end time of those weeks, I was like watching different videos of like breathing techniques and, you know, what to expect during the contractions and how to handle it and how to cope with it, you know, because it's pretty much a mind thing. So you have to really like set your mind on certain things to like literally be able to deal with the pain of the contractions, and not overwhelm yourself with like anxiety or your nerves or whatever. So, you know, at that point, so he was, you know, timing them. He was like, you're like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, next contraction or whatever. And I was like, okay, I can deal with this. You know, I'm not in any pain. So I'm just laying in the bed trying to go to sleep. You know, I was like, okay, because I'm pretty sure we're going to have to head to the hospital soon. So, you know, kept coming. The contractions kept coming. And I'm literally like cringing up on the bed because I could have handled those. Like, I was just like, you know, breathing okay with it. Like, I literally didn't have to do much. Like, I literally just like cringed up in the bed, that, you know, 60 seconds, and then I'm back to laying down, relaxing. So nothing too big. So Dennis is like all nervous everywhere around the house. He's picking up things and cleaning up this. And I was like, okay, go ahead and pack your bag. You know, me and Amaji's bag is already packed. Go ahead and pack your bag, get off the phone, come on the bed, you know, relax yourself. Let's go. So he moping around the house, cleaning up this, cleaning up that, which the house was already clean. He was just very, very nervous at this point. So I'm just like, oh, okay, you do whatever, you stay on the phone. I'm going to stay in this bed and go to sleep. So again, and I would just kind of like yell out, you know, babe, I having a contraction. And he would like time it on this app that we had. So it was just like back and forth, you know, hey, I have a contraction. Hey, you know, okay, now what is it? Is it regular? Is it 5 minutes apart? He was like, nope, you're still like 25 minutes. And then the next one would come in the next 10 minutes. And then the next 20 minutes. So it was not regular at that point. So we were like, okay, we're not going to go to the hospital until we at least get to like 5 minutes apart. We're not going to go to the doctor because they're just going to send you back home or whatever. So, you know, I was kind of nervous too, because I was like, okay, oh my gosh, like I'm literally feeling the contractions now. I remember seeing all the videos. I remember, you know, hearing people's stories about, you know, how they could deal with it. And I'm like, I'm sitting here dealing with these because it's not too bad. Like, I literally could have slept through it. And, you know, I was texting, you know, my mom and everybody. And I texted my sister-in-law and I was like, you know, hey, she was like, well, how are you doing? This was like, you know, 1-ish a.m. or whatever. And I was like, you know, I'm still having the contractions. It's still irregular. Nothing's regular at this moment. And she was like, well, you just need to go to the hospital just to make sure everything's okay. Now, at that point, when she said that, I was like, you know what? I may be already dilated a few centimeters. Even though my contractions are not regular, I was like, let's just go. So I was like, okay, sis, I'm gonna go and we gonna go. So I kind of laid down for a second or whatever, and it, you know, 2 o'clock passed by, and I was like, okay, we're gonna go to the hospital. So I woke Dennis up. He finally came into bed after like 12. And I was like, come on, babe, let's go to the hospital. Let's just make sure everything's okay at this point. Because, you know, I don't want to wait and then it's an issue. Let's just go. So this was like 3 a.m., 3:30 we went. And they basically, you know, I checked in. I told them I was having contractions. I told them how many weeks I was. And, you know, they admitted me and they, you know, put me in the room and they started, you know, checking my cervix. She checked my cervix and I was still 1 centimeter, guys. Still 1. I was so furious. I was so mad. I was so mad, y'all. I was like, there is no way. I was like, I literally did all of this work and you mean to tell me I'm still 1 centimeter? I was like, this is not possible. So she was like, yep, you know, we're just going to send you home. We're just going to, you know, keep checking on the baby, you know, check your contractions, making sure, you know, you're not regular. And they checked it, still was the same, still irregular. She was like, it's still coming about 10, 15 minutes. So, you know, we're just going to send you home and just come back, you know, when you see these signs. Basically, the signs were, you know, 5 minutes apart, couldn't really deal with the pain or whatever like that. Like, you know, this more severe stuff instead of just coming back when I have a contraction. So I was like, okay. So we went back home. I was mad. I was like, okay. And she was like, basically before I left, she was like, go ahead and set your appointment. Cause I was like, well, I don't have another appointment. I did not set the appointment for Monday. And she was like, well, go ahead and call them as soon as, you know, the office opens, which was like 7:30, 8 o'clock. She's like, go ahead and set the appointment, you know, for your last checkup and see what your doctor wants you to do. So we went back home. Went in the bed, relaxed, and I was like, okay, so I'll call in the morning when they open up. So we left there. It's about 5-ish, 6-ish, 5, like 4 or 5. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just set my alarm for 7:30 and I'll just call them and, you know, try to set the appointment. So got up the next that morning, a couple hours later, and I set the appointment. I let them know, hey, you know, I'm having contractions. I'm 40 weeks. Then, you know, I went to the hospital and yeah, I need to set an appointment. I need to see my doctor. So they were able to squeeze me in that day, which was great. They squeezed me in and I came in at like, I set the appointment for like 9 o'clock, 9:10 or whatever. No, 11:10. 11:10 was the appointment. So we got there at the doctor. You know, we did the regular, you know, screening, the urine sample. I had a contraction while I was there. The doctor finally came in and he was like, your pressure is elevated. So I was like, my blood pressure, I was like, I never had issues with my blood pressure ever during this pregnancy, ever in my life. Like, how all of a sudden? So he was like, well, we're going to go ahead and, you know, get you induced. We're going to send you to the hospital. I was like, well, I was just there early this morning at like 3 and they sent me home because I wasn't dilated and my contractions wasn't irregular. He was like, oh no, buddy, you're going back to the hospital. You're getting induced. He's coming soon. I was like, oh, I got to get induced. I don't want to get induced. I really wanted to do this thing natural. I was like, but hey, you know, we got to do safety precautions. I was like, okay. So he wrote up the, you know, paperwork and was like, head right back to the hospital. And I was like, okay. So me and babe, we went to the house, you know, got the puppy.
I know, Mama.
All,
I see you when I get back.
Fed her, and we went to get something to eat.
See you when I get back, Mama.
Over to the hospital.
I know.
So mind you, during all this, I was having contractions again. It still wasn't regular. He checked my cervix again. It still was 1 centimeter. Nothing had changed as far as like the contractions, timing, or my cervix. Everything was still kind of like, yep, you're in labor, but nothing's really changing. So we got to the hospital. We checked in. Now I'm in the labor room. So in the labor room, you know, I'm kind of relaxed. I didn't really sit down much. You know, I sat down for like the IV and, you know, things like that. And, you know, to kind of monitor the baby. I had the one that where you can actually walk around instead of the one that had you in the bed all day long. Because I was like, no, we're still going to do this thing natural. I'm not sitting in no bed. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to get on this ball. I'm going to get on these rails. Like, I'm still not playing. Like, we still going to have this thing natural. Hold on 1 second. The baby's crying. Sorry, guys. All right. So, yeah, at this point, I'm just like still natural. You know, I'm pacing it back and forth in the room. We're walking around. I'm not playing no games. Like, everything is still set in motion. You know, even though they come in and giving me this pill to induce me, I'm like, no, we're still running this natural thing. So they came and they gave me this really small pill, like kind of dissolved in my mouth, you know, to help help me get induced, to start the, you know, the labor process as far as like the contractions and then the dilation. So still, you know, nothing changed after a while. It was still like irregular. He was still kind of timing the contractions, and it kind of went down from like, you know, 20 minutes down to like 8 minutes, and then the next one would come at like 15 minutes, and then it go back down to like 5. But it was never, you know, that 5-1-1 like they said. It was just never that ever. And you know, at this point, it's like, you know, we're in the next day. Well, the whole day, I'm just like, contractions after contractions, contractions after contractions, and I'm still not dilated. So, you know, at this point, they're like monitoring everything. They're, you know, keeping an eye on me, coming back and forth, checking in on me, asking me how I'm doing. You know, I'm like, I'm okay. They were asking me, you know, like, did I want to have like a, you know, epidural and, you know, C-section. I was like, no, we're going to do this thing natural. I had my birth plan set out. Just everything. I was just, you know, all set in motion. I had everything planned out. I had everything ready. So again, the contractions came, and, you know, I'm still able to cope with the contractions. Nothing too major. I was able to, you know, utilize the breathing techniques that I did receive from like the videos I was watching on YouTube, and from the classes that I was taking early on in my pregnancy, you know, just for new moms. So I utilized all the tools that I had to help me cope, and it did help. Even though it was at that point in the hospital, it was a little painful, more than what I was feeling in the beginning, but I was able to cope with it. I didn't have it all like, contraction, it's coming. No, I was able to like breathe through it. I was able to like work myself through it. I had in my mind like, oh my gosh, Ahmad is coming. Like, you know, that was my focus. And I was like, all is well. Like, I just had everything to whereas, okay, it's just 60 seconds. Like, okay, contractions. All right, do what you got to do. I would literally get on my fours. I would, you know, stand over the bed, over the couch. I just never sat in the bed. I never laid in the bed. That was the most uncomfortable thing ever. Like, laying in the bed was the most uncomfortable place to have your contractions. That's why I don't understand how women do it. Like, I just could not. Like, if I was on the bed and I had the contraction, I would literally get off the bed and kneel to the side or like get on my fours, because that helped me. Leaning down was able to help me. Also the breathing, like I would 60 seconds, it's gone. And I would literally get back up and do whatever I was doing before. I would literally have the contractions on my fours and then get back up and do whatever else I was doing. I'm telling you, ask Dennis. Like, he was just like, I don't know how you did this, bruh. Like, I don't know. And after every contractions while I was in the hospital, I had to use the bathroom. Now, that I did not understand. Like, every time I had one, I had to use the bathroom. It was awful. And the nurses would come in and look for me, and they'd be like, is she on the toilet? And I would be there, like, just sitting there smiling at them because I did not understand it. But I just had the contractions. So, you know, hours went past, contractions after contractions, still not regular, and I still haven't dilated any further. So at this point, you know, Dennis was like, well, hey, you know, try, you know, no, they actually gave me another inducement. So they stuck something up my vagina, like another med that they stuck up my vagina, and it was like, you know, hold it down. And she was like, eventually it'll just fall off once the meds go through. So I had that in for a while, and I saw it fell out the toilet, and, you know, they came back and they were like, okay, you know, you're 3 centimeters dilated. I was like, yes, I've gotten somewhere. Yes, we're in the ball. Yes, we're getting somewhere. So I was like, yes. So at that point, the contractions were a little more intense. Like, at that moment, I knew when I transitioned, because I remember from the beginning up until that point how the contractions were in. It was worse. It was painful. At that moment, I was now groaning. Like, I was like, I would be standing up and I would feel it so intense. Like, it would literally, like, it was like a shock. Like, it was just like tense, and I really still can't explain it. It would literally, like, it didn't matter what position I got in. It was like the worst pain, and I was groaning. I was like, like that, y'all. It was awful. And Dennis could not deal with it. Like, he was literally stressing himself out. Like, he could, after a while, he was just like, okay, like, what you gonna do? So this was like, you know, almost 24 hours in this contraction thing, almost. And I was still dealing with it. They actually brought me dinner. I was able to eat dinner. I was able to drink. I had my own snacks. I literally was still living the best life having these contractions. I'm telling you, like, they brought me dinner. The food was horrible, but I ate because my mouth was so dry. But I wasn't exhausted. Dennis said I was exhausted at that moment, but I didn't see that I was exhausted. I was literally thinking like, okay, I'm good, baby good. We just thugging this thing out. It's just taking a long time. That's all. So here comes 10:21 p.m. Now, the contractions actually started 10:21 p.m. Yeah, so we were like 24 hours in, and Dennis was like, okay, babe, like, what you gonna do? Like, you know, you're going through the contractions. Nothing's really changing. You know, you want to think about maybe doing the IV payment or like the epidural, like, you know, because I don't want to see you like this anymore. Like, what you gonna do? So at that moment, I was on the toilet. You know, I just had a contraction. I was on the toilet, and he came inside, and he was like, you know, what you gonna do? And I literally told him, like, you know what I'm gonna do. We already talked about this. This I'm not changing. He was like, well, baby, nothing is changing. Like, you realize you've been in this thing already 24 hours, like, and you still haven't dilated much. You still contracting irregular. And I was like, you don't believe in me. You don't think I can do it. I literally break down, y'all. I was like, you don't believe in me. You're just wanting me to just go the easy route. I was like furious at him because I was like, bro, you don't believe me. You don't think I can do the contractions anymore. You just don't think I can do it. I literally was like, whatever, I don't care. Like, I'm just tired of you saying I can't do it. I was like, whatever. So at that moment on the toilet, I was actually losing my mucus plug. And I was like, I feel something coming out. And it was a mucus plug at that point. So, you know, he called the nurse, and he was like, hey, she's losing her mucus plug. And they were like, okay, you know, let's come on in and, you know, check your cervix. So still around 3, 4, 5, I think it was centimeters. Yeah, because I was already in like that intense stage, active labor. Like, I was literally like groaning at that moment. So she was like, you know, did you want to get the Pitocin or like epidural? Like, what you want to do at this point? I was like, I'll take the IV med or whatever. And I forgot what it was called. It wasn't the Pitocin, it was the other one. And we did the IV med, and literally while she was trying to give me it through the IV, I was having a contraction. I was like, hold on, wait a minute. And she was like, no, this gonna work. Like, you about to get this thing now. And literally she stuck that thing in, and I went blank. Dennis was saying something to me. She was saying something. And Dennis was like, all I know was you were like mumbling something, and your eyes went back, and you were out. He was like, you were out. And I did not remember. I was like, okay. All I remember is she was saying, I'm going to do this thing while you having this contraction. And I was out. And I think I was out probably just 20 minutes. Because literally when another contraction came, I felt every bit of it. I felt that contraction like it was nothing. I got out of that bed and I was on my forwards. I was like, that med didn't do anything for me. I said it relaxed me for that quick second, those couple minutes, those few minutes. But I had that contraction again, and I felt every bit of it. I was like, that was a waste. So here it is, you know, time's passing. It's like 1-ish, 2, you know, a.m. And, you know, still having the contractions. Now, I, at this point, was literally like, okay, I need to know what's going on. I was still having contractions. I was never regular. I've always been 10, 15, 25, 8, 7 with minutes within contractions. And the dilation was going, but it wasn't flowing how they thought it would. So like it was around 3-ish, 3 a.m. And she was like, you know, at this point, you know, you're not dilating as, you know, regular, your contractions. And she was like, you know, at this point, we got to figure out something else. So she was like, did you want the Pitocin? And I was like, yep, let's do the Pitocin. Because I was a big no for the epidural. I did not want the epidural. I didn't want to get stuck in my back. I just didn't want to go through that. I just remember a lot of people saying like the after, you know, math with the epidural. And I was like, nope, not going to do it. I want to be able to get up and walk. I don't want to be, you know, confined to the bed. That was just me. I did not want to be in the bed. So she was like, okay, I'm going to tell you the Pitocin, the contractions you're having now, it's going to be even worse if you get the Pitocin. She was like, you're gonna be in more pain than you are. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm dealing with this. I'm able to deal with the other one, I'm pretty sure. So she waited for a minute or whatever to come back, and another nurse actually came in and she spoke with me, and I was like, well, give me your opinion. What do you think about the Pitocin? Like, what are your thoughts? And she was like, well, to be honest with you, I have 4 children and I did 1 child with the Pitocin. She was like, that was the worst ever. She was like, that was the worst idea ever. And I was like, okay, we're gonna do the epidural. We're gonna do the epidural. I was like, is it too late? She was like, no, you're still like 5-6 centimeters at this moment, like 3 a.m. I was like, 5-6 centimeters. She was like, you still can get the epidural. And I was like, okay, how long is it gonna take? And she was like, roughly 10-15 minutes before he comes in. I was like, okay, whatever. Dennis was so happy. He was so relieved. I could have just seen over his face. He was just relief. He was just so happy that I made the decision to do it, because it was already past 24 hours and nothing really changed with the contractions. He was like, you're just doing these contractions and it's nothing changing. I was like, you already pretty much 30 hours in. So we waited for I can't say it. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The man with the give me the epidural. He came in, and again, I'm still having contractions, and he told me how to, get in a position or whatever. I had to put the pillow and, lean over, and Dennis was right here with me. And at that moment, as he was getting prepared, to go ahead and stick me, I had a contraction. I was like, oh, I'm about to have a contraction. So the nurse was like, no, you cannot move. You have to deal with this contraction. I was like, no. And it hurt so bad, because I was used to just getting on my 4s or leaning over without just sitting there. I just couldn't move. She's like, don't move. And I bust out and cry, y'all, because it hurt. Like, at that point, it hurted because I could not move. I could not really get in my mind like, oh, I can deal with it, because I wasn't dealing with that before, in that position. So I'm squeezing Dennis, trying to get through this contraction or whatever. And it finally left. That minute was up. So I was like, okay, come on for the next one, come. So, he stuck me in the back. He told me what I'll feel. And, he got that done. And then I had to lay on my back, and they scratched me all the way back. At that point, I had another contraction. So at that moment, I'm trying to turn over, to bend over. And he was like, no, you can't move. And I was like, I started crying, y'all, because I was like, there's no way these women went through those pain like that in the bed. It was so painful, so painful just to lay there knowing oh my God, just thinking about it all over again. So I had to lay down. At that moment I was, getting pretty numb. Didn't really feel, I felt it a little bit, but it wasn't really how I was feeling it before, but I knew it was still coming. At that point she put the catheter in, just told me to, just stay laid back. They, checked my pressure again. The pressure was fine. And yep, I have the epidural. So after that thing kicked in, I was knocked out. Dennis said I slept. Dennis said I slept and I slept and I slept. He said that was the most peaceful thing he'd ever seen. He was like, I slept so good. And, they were back and forth, 5 a.m., 7 a.m., they were still walking back and forth. I was like, well, hey, am I still having contractions? And they're like, yeah, but it's still irregular. And I was like, okay, well, how is that working? How is it, 30 hours past, I'm still having contractions. I'm at the point where I'm 6 centimeters now, but, he's down there, but he's not coming. So she was like, at that point, he was actually in my birth canal. And I dilated 7 centimeters, but he actually went back up. So that dropped me back down to 6 centimeters. And at that point, they were worried. They were like, okay, his heart rate was going up and down. She had to put the oxygen on me. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Yeah, what's going on? So they were just kind of rushing in and da-da-da-da. I was like, okay. So this is 7-ish, 8-ish or whatever. And, you know, she came back and she checked my cervix. She was like, okay, you're 6 centimeters. And I can feel his head. So they were checking and she was like, okay, well, his heart rate is still going up and down. She was like, we may have to go ahead and look into an emergency C-section. So I blanked out. I was just like, what? Like, this was definitely not the plan. I had planned to have him regular, natural, not C-section. That I've never looked up C-section, cesarean. I never looked it up. I didn't know anything about it. I knew that was surgery, but I didn't put in the actual research to see how it is, the procedure afterwards. Nothing. I didn't do any of that. All she said was, we may have to look into an emergency C-section. So at that point, Dennis is calling my parents, you know, informing them what's going on. You know, he's nervous. He's a nerve wreck. He's looking, you know, calling them and letting them know, hey, you know, his heart rate's dropping. They may have to look into a C-section. My blood pressure was fine. It was just, you know, they gave me oxygen to keep him elevated or whatever. So she left the room, you know, came back in maybe like, you know, a couple hours later. Well, an hour later, she was like, okay, well, you know, we have to go ahead and do this emergency C-section. This is like the only option. He's already down there and you're still not contracting regular. Now, at that moment, I was feeling like I had to like use the bathroom, really like poop. And I was like, you know, I got to use the bathroom. She was like, no, you're okay. Don't push or anything. And I was like, okay. And I was like, but I really feel like I got to go. And I was like, okay, that went away for like a second. And then I felt it again. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I got to push. And they were like, no, you know, don't push or anything. And that was just literally him like pushing my birth canal. Like he was already in my birth canal. So he was like literally there. And I was wanting to push him out. But it wasn't safe because he would just like go up and then down, go up and then down. He was just so tense, I guess. I don't understand what he was doing in there. So yeah, they were like, okay, you know, ma'am, you know, this is the only option we have. His heart rate is still up and down. We have to go ahead and move forward to the C-section. I was like, okay, let's do it. So at that moment, you know, they were getting me prepared, you know, to go into the OR. I was still kind of woozy. I was like in and out. So I really didn't know much of like, you know, who was there and what was going on, what was being said. So I think Dennis was just like all into, you know, talking to the nurse or whatever, letting them, you know, trying to figure out. I was kind of like out of it. I don't know what other drug they had me on, but yeah, I was all over the place. I didn't feel anything because at that moment, you know, I already had the epidural. So I was just like relaxed. I knew I had to have a C-section. I knew it was an emergency. I knew Amaj's heart rate was going up and down. So this was very, very serious at this point. I wasn't worried. I wasn't like all panicked. I was literally relaxed. Like I didn't worry. I didn't have like a bad thought that something bad would happen. It was just like, okay, you know, my mind is on my baby. My mind is on my child. Let's get whatever done that needs to be done at this moment. So we got in the OR, they're preparing me or whatever, you know, just getting everything situated. Dennis is out, I guess, you know, after I found out after, you know, the surgery, he was like, yeah, I was outside talking to your parents, letting them know, you know, you're about to have the C-section, and just to let you guys know. So, yep, here we are preparing for a C-section and an emergency C-section at that. Now, rewind. Remember, I had the birth plan. I was like, yeah, natural birth. Didn't want to get induced. Blah, blah, blah. Didn't have any complications during my pregnancy at all. The first month, 9th month, at the end, it seemed like it all trembled. Everything just seemed to like change. And I was like, what's going on? Like, how all of a sudden, like, this was not what was going on in the beginning. You know, I had a great pregnancy. I didn't have any complications. And now, an emergency C-section. Yeah, so here it is. You know, they're doing whatever they have to do. I'm feeling the pressure of them, you know, trying to get Amaj out. Like, it was really, really, like, pressure. Like, I felt the pressure. Like, it's like they were, like, digging. Like, I was like, okay, like, you know, still drugged, but I'm just like, okay, like, it's a lot of pressure. And I heard Dennis, I was like, baby, I see the head. And I'm like, okay, I hope they would hurry up. Like, what's going on? Like, I didn't worry about, him not, like, I didn't have a worry thought in my mind. I was just like, my baby is coming. Let's get him out here. And when I tell you, you guys, I heard his cry, I literally blacked out. I was in tears. I cried so much. They thought something was wrong with me. I was in tears. I was crying when he was crying. Like every time he would get louder, I was loud. Every time I heard him get low, I was low. I was like, oh, my baby's here. He's here. He's here. I didn't care about anything else. I didn't care about how bad they cut me open. I didn't care if it was a C-section. I was just like, my baby is finally here. He is here. I can hear him. I can't see him right now, but I can hear him. They had me all covered, so I was hearing him, but I couldn't see him. And I was crying. The nurse behind me, she was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I'm just like, and Dennis was like, she's just emotional. I couldn't even get the words out. I just kept hearing him cry, and I just cried. I was like, oh my gosh, like, So, they did the little thing they had to do or whatever. And I'm sitting there like trying to hurry up and see him. And I'm just like all excited. Yet I'm all drugged up. So my eyes were like very like blurry. I'm like half cocked and like all kinds. I was just out of it. And they brought him to me. And it was just the best moment ever, y'all. Like, it was the best moment of my life. Like, I literally was the happiest person ever. I was the happiest mom on earth. When I saw that child, I was like, yes, this is it. I am his mom. I am his mom. Like, he is finally here. Dennis was so happy. I was so happy. We were like, yes, he is here. Yes! Yes! He is here. Ahmad Cole is here, y'all. So, yes. Alright, so that is all for part 2. Yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you guys the pictures, what we've taken thus far. Again, just like, share, and subscribe.